Uh, I would say the first thing that you need to make sure, whether you're a male or a female, if you're going to marry somebody and you're in the martial arts industry, make sure you marry someone who is not a jealous person. And you might say, well, let's don't give them a reason to be jealous. Well, true, but some people are just naturally, because of insecurities of what's happened to them in the past, etc., they're just jealous. And the martial arts is a career field where if we are in front of that class, and I tell my young instructors all the time, especially my young male instructors, if you're in front of that classroom, it's a rush. And you're controlling that class in the palm of your hand. And especially my young male instructors, they enjoy having those females look up to them. Those teenagers with the googly eyes. You know, you need to watch out for having protocols in place to, as an owner, steer you away from sexual misconduct. And you have protocols in place where instructors are not dating students. All those things. That's a whole other topic that we'll talk about at a later date. All right, let's stick with marriage. Squirrel. Don't marry a jealous person, because you are in front of that classroom and those people look up to you. And you need to be friendly with them, but not flirty. And you need to understand that balance, and some people take it different ways too. That's just something to understand. Let's say that you're in your 30s or 40s, married or not married, whatever, doesn't matter right now for this scenario. You have single moms that put their kids in a martial art program so that their child, male or female, has a good fatherly figure to look up to. I've had a lot of people enroll over the last few years that have said that specifically to me. I want them in a place where they have good men to look up to. That's great. From a single mom's standpoint, that can be a big turn on, that you are, creating that fatherly image for the child. Just got to understand that from a psychological standpoint. Don't feed into that too much. Because if you're dating someone or engaged or a spouse, that spouse can see that. You might not think that you're doing anything wrong, you're just being friendly, but sometimes that goes a little too far. And that spouse will set you straight. And if they're jealous, you're just going to be in torment. I mean, every little thing you do, right? Don't set up private classes. That's another subject too. Private classes with the opposite sex. Don't do it. Make sure you got cameras in your studio too. Okay. All right, now let's squirrel. Number 1, don't marry a jealous person. Number 2, your spouse needs to understand, or potential spouse needs to understand, it is a second shift job. We talked about this before, just understanding that you're basically teaching in the evenings. And it might be okay now when it's just you and your spouse, but pretty soon you're going to want to have kids. And if you're the female and the female has kids. I almost got myself in trouble there. But you are the one that's running classes, you're the instructor, you're the owner, and you're a female, and you're going to have kids one day. Take that into account. You need to create a staff so that you can be home with your child in the evenings, or you're going to homeschool or something. That plan needs to take place, right? So let's make sure they're not a jealous person. They understand it's a second shift job and it fits that lifestyle. Okay? Number 3, they need to be your business helper. Now, what I mean by that is maybe you don't want them helping you in the business. And that's fine. I mean, like right now, my wife, she wants to work for me. I don't want her working for me because the way she's wired, she will try to run my business and tell me how to do it after I've been doing it for 30-some years. Okay? And we've been married 7 years as the filming of this. So that's just the way she's wired. But she is a great helper. Okay? And she doesn't fuss when I'm needed at events, or she understands the lifestyle. Okay? So if I needed at testings or different things like that, it's okay. So your spouse needs to understand that. And there needs to be a balance there. Number one, don't be jealous. Don't marry a jealous person. Number two, make sure that they understand it's a second shift job. Number three, they're a good business helper, not necessarily a business partner. Okay? And I would say the other thing you really need to marry somebody, and you need to do this anyway. This, somebody that you can really be vulnerable with and cry on their shoulder. When you deal with people, it can wear you down. And there are heartache situations. I mean, your heart will go out to some of these kids that you deal with. There's just a lot that you need to unload sometimes. And that person needs to be able to let you unload on it and care for you, as opposed to, well, you should have done this and you should have done that and whatever. You know what I mean? So you need somebody that can really let you cry on their shoulder, so to speak. All right? And I can't think of the right word. Starts with an E, I think. Be empathetic. That's the word. I told you I wanted this to be organic. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head. So you need a person to be empathetic. All right? Number one, don't marry a jealous person. Number two, marry somebody that understands it's a second shift job. Number three, marry somebody that's a business helper with you, or could be a business helper. And number four, marry an empathetic person that can really hold you during those hard times when you need to unload. Okay? You need a cheerleader. You need somebody too, and this is just in life, that can jerk a knot in your neck when it needs to be. Right? Give you a kick in the butt. All right? Hold you accountable. Things like that. But we live in a great country that has great opportunities, and martial arts is a great career field. But if you don't marry the right person, there's going to be some issues. So, words of wisdom from the old man, the Big Mouth Sensei.